Om Dakshinasya Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyama Asmadacharya Paryanta Smarya Guru Parampara Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaran Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशव वामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः. So after introducing the two important sadhanas for the Arurukshu and the Arudha. For the Arurukshu, that means the one who is interested in getting on to the seat of meditation or to Nididhyasana, Karma Yoga was explained by Bhagavan as the most important sadhana. And for the person who's already climbed up or who's already seated in the seat of Dhyanam or Nididhyasanam, Bhagavan said that the mastery over the mind and sense organs in the form of Shama is the most important sadhana. So with this now, after that now, from the 10th verse, which we started last time, Bhagavan has started talking about the immediate preparations just before sitting for Nididhyasana. As I told you in the last two classes, Nididhyasana is nothing but assimilating or digesting whatever I have heard about Atma Swarupa, my own Swarupa, from by Shravanam, from the Shastras, Guru Mukhena. And I want to internalize it, and I am doing what is called as contemplation on whatever I have heard from the Shastra Shravanam. And initially, at least, it is very necessary for me to sit in one place and be together as far as all the sense organs and mind and buddhi are concerned. And once this meditation or Nididhyasanam becomes a spontaneous, habitual thing, then I don't really have to sit in a particular position. I can be a Nididhyasaka anywhere, wherever I am, in whatever state I am, whatever I am doing, I can be constantly in Dhyanam. So now from the 10th verse onwards, what Bhagavan is talking about is the immediate preparations before I sit for Nididhyasana. And now let us see, first he talks about the place, the kind of place which we talked about in the last session itself. He says, Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasya sthitaha. So Bhagwan says here, let the place that you choose for Nididhyasanam be unfrequented by people. Let it be a quiet place where there are no disturbances from other people or from any other things other than myself, so that I am able to sit absolutely undisturbed. Rahasi sthitaha. And how should I be? Ekaki. Ekaki here actually means sannyasi, at least for that moment, at the time of meditation, at the time of Nididhyasanam. Let every dhyana yogi, let everybody who's doing Nididhyasana be a sannyasi. What's the meaning of sannyasi? Let all people who are, outside, let them be outside. Let me not carry them inside. Let all the objects which are outside me, let them be wherever they are. Right now, I am absolutely free from the influence of all people and objects of the world outside. That is ekaki. At least at that time, I need not be a sannyasi who has given up everything, but at least at that time, let me be alone. Let me be by myself so that I am not disturbed. Yata chittatma. Already we have talked about it in the first few verses, where the nididhyasaka is in control or in mastery with with relationship to his sense organs and the mind. So the person is a complete vashi, yata chitta atma, the one who has the sense organs and the mind under his mastery with adequate shama, dhamma, and uparama. All these we have already talked about earlier. And such a person should be a nirashi and aparigraha. Nirashi means the one who's not having any kind of a strong sankalpa or desire to achieve something out of whatever he's doing. Even dhyanam, it is basically to assimilate whatever I have got by Shravanam of Shastra. But let me not have all kinds of hopes as to, in the sense that today I'm going to sit for so long and do this Nididhyasanam. By tomorrow I'm going to be much better in this. No, no such kind of expectations, because let Nididhyasana take its own course. When I'm a Vashi, when I'm a Yatachitatma, and when I'm not too much bothered about what this is going to give me, automatically I get established in Nididhyasana. Aparigraha. Aparigraha means the one who is free from unnecessary accumulation of material things. Because you see, the more I have, the more I have accumulated, the more yoga kshema is there. You know what is yoga kshema? Acquiring what I have not had is yoga. Maintaining that, protecting what I have acquired is kshema. Now, if I'm a parigrahi, or I'm a person who's all the time interested in accumulating things, what can I get now? What can I do later? My dhyanam is disturbed by what I'm supposed to acquire. Therefore, let me be a person, at least at that time, a true sannyasi who's a nirashi and a parigraha. Because whatever objects I have accumulated, they are already in my mind. They are not only outside, I'm carrying them inside also. So the more number of objects I have, the more number of attachments and entanglements I have, the more they are going to be in my mind and disturb me in my nididhyasana. So this is the first requirement of immediate preparation, that is looking for a quiet place. And then Acharya Shankara in his Bhashya says that it could be something like on the banks of a river, or a guha, or a mountain top, or on a hill, anything like that. But then in today's world, it is not possible to find probably such places. Let me choose a quiet corner in my own house or wherever I can, where for that particular period of time which I have decided, maybe 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever it is, I am comfortable and happy and not disturbed. And then, what kind of an asana should I have? Asana means what? That on which I sit, the seat, that on which I sit, the seat on which I sit is also very important in meditation, which is also called as asana. And the way I sit, the posture of my body when I sit for nididhyasana is also called as asana. Now, What kind of an asana should I have? What kind of a seat I should have is discussed in the 11th verse. And how I should posture my body is discussed in the 13th verse. So, what we'll do is we'll read the 11th verse, and after that, we will go to the 13th verse, and then we'll come back to the 12th verse so that there'll be a continuity in that. So, in the 11th verse, he says, Shuchau deshe pratishtapya sthiramasanamaatmanaha नात्युच्छ्रितं नातिनीचं चैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम्. Why should we have an asana? It is said that directly sitting on the floor may not be the right thing because the floor may be hard. In the olden days, probably they were all mud floors because of which it would be damp, and also there would be, a lot of insects and other things. So it was told that everybody should have an asana of his or her own. And it is always advised that one does not share one's asana with other people. Let the asana be exclusively for myself. And where do I, establish this asana? Shuchau deshe. So this place which I have chosen, it should be clean enough because it should give me a kind of a tranquility and a feeling of happiness in the mind. And if the place around me, the place I have chosen for Nididhyasana is clean, either naturally or cleaned by me, so that to make it conducive for meditation. So he says here, Shuchau deshe asanam pratishtapya. This asana should be actually in a place which is quite clean. Otherwise, the dust there or the smells there or the cobwebs there, all these things, may create a lot of disturbance in me physically also and mentally also. And sthiram asanam atmanaha. Sthiram asanam. So that particular asana which I have chosen should be sthiram. That means it should not be wobbly. Like, many of us sometimes, we may sit on some kind of a stool or something which is very wobbly. So it should be sthiram, and it should be on the floor. It should be sthiram. But of course, now in today's world, with all our joint problems and all that, it may not be possible to follow all these instructions regarding the asanam. And it is said that sukhasanam, whichever posture, whichever seat is comfortable for you, where you are not disturbed for that period of time, may you sit on that particular asanam. It could be a chair also, it could be a bench also, it could be anything. But what he says is, na ati uchritam, na ati nicham. It should not be very high. It should not be a very high stool on which I sit, because when my body and mind relax, there is a possibility that I fall down. Ati nicham. Let me not choose a place which is in the basement or below the ground level, where also there may be lot of other disturbances. Here, na ati uchritam and na ati nicham, also we have to understand that there are some people who want to meditate on very high altitudes, like in the Himalayas and all. And it is said that very, very high altitudes may not be very conducive for Nididhyasana, because in such places, because of the rarefied air, because of a low oxygen concentration in the air, the mind may be actually artificially silenced. I may feel that the mind is absolutely in silence and it's very conducive for meditation. No, the mind may be actually dulled, or it may be even stunned. Therefore, it is warned that one should not sit at very high altitudes also. At the same time, one should not go under very deep caves also, because there also the oxygen concentration may be less and the mind may not be alert. It may be a quiet, unnaturally quietened mind, but it may not be an active and a quiet mind, which is necessary for Nididhyasanam. And then Chailajina Kushottaram. What should be this asanam made of? These are all the preparations that Krishna is telling. So, what should be the asanam? He says, Chaila, Ajina, Kusha, Uttarottaram, in the Viparita Krama. That means the first layer or the lowest layer, it should be a 3-layered asana or a seat. The lowest should be made of the Kusha grass. What is the purpose of Kusha grass? This is a dry grass which helps in absorbing any of the moisture that may be there on the floor. And it will also catch all the small insects that are there so that they may not directly come in contact with the person who is sitting for meditation. So the first layer, which is actually on the ground, is the kusha grass, the dry grass. Then on that he says ajinam. Ajinam means the skin of a dead deer. You know, it was said that earlier, why this ajinam was used? Because it was said that deer being a very sattvic animal, it was said that when I use the deer skin as a part of the asanam, that I may also, my mind also may have a possibility of turning more sattvic. So the places which we choose, the asanam we choose, how we sit, all these help us in creating a sattvic kind of a mind which is necessary for nididhyasanam. So the first layer is the dry kusha grass directly on the ground. The middle layer is the ajinam, the skin of a naturally dead deer, not something which is killed for its skin, and chailam. Chailam means a soft cloth. So it should be a soft cloth. Why? Because now the kusha grass is very pokey. So if I directly sit on the kusha grass, I cannot concentrate because it will be poking me everywhere. On that is the deer skin, and the hairs of the deer skin can also irritate me, tickle me. Therefore, a soft cloth which actually takes care of all these things should be the topmost portion. Of course, this has been given by Lord Krishna, which is also given in most of the in our shastras. This is the asanam that is prescribed. But whatever asanam which is neither very hard nor very soft, but that which is firm, that kind of an asanam we should choose. See, supposing we use a very soft pillow for asanam on a seat, like on a chair, we'll literally get sunk into that, and then it may not be conducive to maintain the posture or the asanam of the body. So what it means is, generally it should be a firm asana, and it should be a comfortable asana, and wherever I sit, it should actually protect me from any kind of dampness or irritation. Now, what is the asanam or the posture of the body that one should adopt? Now, asanam can mean a seat. Asanam can also mean the posture of the body. And here, Krishna is talking about it in the 13th verse. What does he say? Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayanna chalam sthiraha सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशश्चानवलोकयन्. May you sit in a position where the base is broad. If you are sitting in Padmasana or Ardha Padmasana, or however you sit, let the base be broad. Let the knee joints be as far away as possible from each other, so that I am sitting firmly on the asana. Then samam kaya shiro grivam. Grivam, neck, shira, head, and kaya, the torso, up till the waist. Let all these three be in one straight line. If they are in one straight line, it gives me a stability of the posture and also does not induce any sleep in me. If I sit in all kinds of odd positions, I may slip when my mind is relaxed. At the same time, it may even kind of induce sleep in me. So samam kaya shiro grivam samam kritva. Kaya shiro grivam samam kritva. Dharayan achalam sthiraha. Okay, for this, the stability of the body, kaya shiraha grivam dharayan samam dharayan. Samprekshya. Now he talks about the sense organs. In the sense organs, among them also, the eye is the sense organ which is prone to most distraction. Okay, eyes are the ones which can get distracted very fast. So what do? I may be a vashi as an arudha, but then what do I do to keep my sense organs not wandering here and there, especially eyes? So he says, Samprekshya swam nasikagram. May you look at the tip of your nose. Swam nasikagram. My own nose, not somebody else's nose tip. I have to look at the tip of my nose. In some shastra, in some of the works, they say, may you bring your eyes to the middle of the eyebrows. Now, what is the purpose of this? There is a purpose for this. When your eyes are fully open, definitely they'll wander here and there and try to see what is there. Even if I'm sitting in a very quiet and small place, my eyes will always go here and there and get distracted. Supposing my eyes are fully closed, it is one stimulus for me to fall asleep. Closed eyes, the mind knows that, okay, the eyes are closed, now it is time to sleep, so I may fall asleep. So here Krishna says, let the eyes be neither fully open nor fully closed, but partially open, where they are not going here and there. Dishascha anavalokayan. That means the eyes are not looking here and there, but at the same time, they are half open when I look at the tip of my nose. Now we have to understand that these are only general instructions, that it may be uncomfortable for me to look at the tip of my nose. In such a case, half closed eyes should be enough. It is only to see that the eyes are not distracted. And when the eyes are not distracted, when there are not many sounds because I am sitting in a quiet place and there are no other stimuli for the sense organs, then getting into the bhava of meditation becomes much easier. Dishans cha anavalokayan. Let me not keep looking here and there. So let the eyes be concentrated on the tip of the nose, which means the eyes are half closed. Then what do I do? Then comes, after sitting in that asanam, after acquiring that asanam or the posture of the body, what should I do then? Now, all about the meditator is talked about in the 12th verse. See, Lord Krishna has the ideas of this are scattered here and there. They are not, in an order. We have to put the verses in an order so that it makes sense to us. So now we talked about Karma Yoga as the Bahiranga sadhana for an Arurukshu, Shama as the sadhana for a Arudha. We talked about the Desha. We talked about the Asanam. People may say, what about Kala? Krishna has not talked about Kala. Any Kala is enough as long as it is a Sattvika Kala. Many people say Brahma Muhurtam. It may not be possible for us if we see Brahma Muhurtam is okay. If you sleep at 7:30 or 8 in the evening, you can get up at 3:34. But if I'm sleeping at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, getting up at Brahma Muhurtam and sitting for meditation is not possible. So what it means is a time where and when I'm free and the mind is not disturbed by any other thing. Before, you know, the day's problems have started encroaching upon me, and before and the previous day's problems are taken care of, let that morning time, early morning time, be the time which is most sattvic and most conducive, which is not mentioned here but it is mentioned elsewhere. Now what about the meditator? After sitting and all that, now the preparations are over. Now the meditator has to do something to get into meditation. So the 12th chapter talks about all about the meditator, which is the most important. After all the preparations, if I, the meditator, myself am not prepared for it, what is the use of preparing everything? Therefore, he says here, the 12th verse now. Tatraikagram manah kritva yata chittendriyah kriyah upavishyasane yunjad yogam atma vishuddhaye. So he says that once you have sat there, tasmin asane upavishya, in that asana, in that posture, upavishya, having sat there, ekagram manah kritva, let the mind be directed, ekagram, directed for one point focus. And when can that happen? Yata chitta indriya kriyaha, when the meditator sees to it that the indriya and manas actions, the kriyas, are mastered. The indriyas are quiet and the mind is quiet. then there is possibility of ekagrata in the antakarana or buddhi. Tatra ekagram manah kritva upavishya asmin or tasmin asane yunjyad. Yunjyad means may you connect with what? Yunjyad, yogam yunjyad. That means may you connect yourself with the process of nididhyasana. Now, this is actually applicable even to Saguna Ishvara Upasana like Japa. It is the same system we follow for Japa on Ishta Devata also. It is the same system which we follow for Nirguna Brahma Nididhyasanam or Atmaswarupa Nididhyasanam also. And he says, Yogam Yunjad. May you connect the mind with the object of your meditation. In Japa, it is my Ishtadevata. In Nididhyasanam, it is the Shravanam, the Vedantic truths that I have heard during Shravanam about my nature, about the Atma Swarupa, Svatma Swarupa. So, Yunjad Yogam, for what purpose? Atma Vishuddhaye. Now we have to understand what is this Atma Vishuddhaye. With Upasana Yoga, that with Saguna Brahma Upasana or Saguna Ishvara Upasana, this meditator, this Nididhyasaka has already developed enough of Chitta Naishchalyam. Okay, Atma Vishuddhi means, Atma here means the mind. The mind has undergone enough Shuddhi by Karma Yoga, enough Naishchalyam by Upasana Yoga. And when he is already in Nididhyasanam, what is the meaning of this? Atma Vishuddhaye. What more is there for clearing or purifying or making the mind one pointed? For this, it is said that when I relax the mind, when all the sense organs are withdrawn from their respective activities, what happens then? In a quiet mind, all the dukkhas, all the problems that have been suppressed or that have been in my subconscious, they slowly start coming out. Okay? And then when such things start coming out from deeply hidden things, that is what is called as the kashaya. Here it is not mentioned, but Bhagavan Gaudapada in his Mandukya Upanishad Karika, during the process of Nididhyasanam, what happens he talks about? It is the kashaya. Kashaya means the impurities. What are the impurities here? Those sorrows and those so many things which have been hidden, which have been suppressed in our subconscious. When we sit for meditation with this quiet mind, they are likely to come up. Then what do we do about them? Gaudapadacharya says that don't do anything. Let them come. They come out like bubbles. They're ultimately kshana. Every vritti is kshanatmika vritti. Okay, all those things which come up, they'll just bubble up. Like bubbles, they last for a moment and then go away. Don't get carried away by those things. Whatever comes up, maybe it is good that it comes out, but don't get attached to those thoughts and don't get diverted. Let the mind be calm. Let there be, outpouring of whatever has to come, whatever is there hidden in me. Dukkhas, most of the time it is sorrow. It is most of the time, confusion about myself. Why did this happen to me? Why such a thing happened to me? Why he did that to me? Why I did that to him? Always that guilt and hurt and shame. These are the things which come out first, during meditation. They are called as kashaya. And Gaudapadacharya says that it is the nature of the mind to throw out these kashayas when the mind is quiet. There is nothing to worry about them. May you look at them with compassion. Don't try to suppress them again. They will just appear as bubbles and disappear as bubbles, because every thought is momentary, comes up like a bubble, disappears. You don't get distracted by them. Let them come and go. But may your object of meditation be very, very firmly focused upon. This is what is called as Atma Vishuddhi. That is, for a person who is an Arurukshu, he has to go through the process of Saguna Ishvara Upasana or Japa for Chitta Naishchalyam. But for an Arudha, even when all these things are followed, one has to be very, very prepared for the suppressed emotions to come out, but at the same time, just be indifferent to them. They will come, they will get expressed, they will go away. And over a period of time, these will not disturb you. This is what is called as Atma Vishuddhi for a person who is a Nididhyasaka. Now, in the next verse, we'll go now to the 14th verse. Now, what does he do? With all these external factors, we talked about what a meditator should do. Now, he continues. Bhagavan continues on what kind of a nature of this particular person, this meditator, the very meditator, what are those things which actually help the meditator other than all these preparations which have already been done, which are external. Now, what is it, the internal state of the mind of this meditator? We saw a part of it in the 12th verse. Now in the 14th verse he says, Prashantatma vigathabhihi brahmachari vrite sthitaha manas-sanyamya machittaha yukta asita matparaha. Okay, so what he says is that this person who has a mastery over the mind and sense organs, and the one who has diluted his raga dveshas because of the karma yoga that he has done, he is basically prashanta atma. We saw that in the second chapter itself, isn't it? Prasadam madigachati, a karma yogi. That prashanta atma, prasadam, or that equanimity and the pleasant nature of the mind, prashanta, shanta atma, vigata bhihi, the mind which is, without any fear, at least at that particular time. Fear of what? There are different types of fears. Fear of tomorrow, fear of what will happen after meditation, fear of what will happen if my nididhyasanam is not okay. What happens if my nididhyasanam is successful, and then, if I really, establish myself in this nididhyasanam, will I be able to function? Will I be able to do whatever I am supposed to do? Will this nididhyasana change my personality? These kind of fears are always there in meditators. So at that time, not having any kind of a fear, because we are connecting to Ishvara here. We are connecting to that Brahman here. So he says that Vigata Bhihi Brahmachari Vrate Sthitaha. Here Brahmachari Vrata can mean two things. One, who is living a life of commitment to the Brahmachari ashrama in the form of Guru Shushrusha, Guru Shravanam, Guru Vakya Shravanam, and also some kind of a discipline which a brahmachari follows. That is the one meaning of brahmachari vrita. The second meaning of brahmachari vrita is even a grahastha who's actively involved in so many things can be a brahmachari. What is the meaning of brahmachari? Brahmani stitaha, or the one who wants to establish himself in his nature, that is Brahman. So the one who is committed to knowing Brahman, the one who is committed to, seeing one's own swarupam as Brahman, such a person is called as a brahmachari vrite stitaha, where even for a grahastha, knowing aham brahmasmi iti, knowing my nature, understanding that what that Brahman is, commitment to the Shastra and Guru's words to know what this Brahman is, such a commitment is also called as Brahmachari Vrataha. It can mean both of them. For such a person who is Brahmachari Vrate Sthitaha, committed to the discipline of being a Brahmachari, Manaha Sanyamya Machittaha. Let the mind be focused on me, he says. Here Krishna is not talking about a personal God, or he's not talking about Mr. Krishna as me. He says, Mai Ishvare Sanyamya. Bhasha says, he says, Mai Ishvare. That is, let your vritti, Let your thought be focused on me, Mai Vasudeve, Mai Ishvare, that let that mind be focused on me. Mat Chittaha, the mind which is focused on me as Ishvara, who is the all pervading consciousness in every jiva, that consciousness in which everything is situated. Let the mind of this yogi be totally committed and established or focused on me. Machitaha yukta asita matparaha. Such a person is called as yukta, and he's asit, he's sitting matparaha. Matpara can also mean tatparaha. Here mat means to that Brahman. Matparaha can be also to that Tatpadam, to Ishvara or to Brahman. So let the object of Nididhyasana, or what we call as the Dhyayam, let the mind be totally focused with one pointed focus without getting distracted by the Kashaya that is coming out in the mind, or by not getting distracted by the objects of the Jagat outside, because I am already a Vashi. I am already a Yata Chittatma. I am already a Vijitatma. I am already a Jitendriyaha. We have seen all this in this chapter itself. We have seen all this. Therefore, Yukta Asita Matparaha. He is totally committed to knowing me, Ishvara. Then he says, then in the next one, 15th verse, Yunjannevam sadatmanam yogi niyatamaanasaha shantim nirvana paramam matsamsthamadhigacchati. So what is the phalam of this dhyanam? He says, Yunjanyeva sada, all the time, sada. When this mind is connected, yunjan, okay, yuj means, yoga means yuj, connecting. When there is a samyoga, a constant connection, at least during the period of Nididhyasana. Now we are talking specifically about that 20 minutes of half an hour per day we are dedicating for nididhyasanam. Later on it should become a spontaneous nididhyasanam everywhere and anywhere. So here he says yunjan yevam sadatmanam yogi, this dhyana yogi, the one who is an arudha. Who is he? Niyatamaanasaha, the one who has the mind in his mastery. The mind, Shama-damanvita, Shamanvita Manaha. Shama-dama Uparama Anvita, all the, organs, sense organs, and also the mind and buddhi, Niyata Manasaha. Such a person, when he is concentrating, connecting himself to the object of meditation, that is Brahman, or me, the Ishmi, Ishvara, Matchittaha, Matparaha, me, Aham. Krishna says Aham as Ishvara. What happens? Shantim Paramam, Nirvana Shantim Paramam Apnoti or Adhigachati. Then there is that kind of a peace that a person gets in Dhyanam. Because we saw that Karma Yoga itself gives a kind of a Shanti. Naishtikim Shantim. We saw that in the 5th chapter. Then Upasana Yoga itself gives a level of Shanti, Naishtikim. Whatever Nishtha you are following at that time, the result of that is peace. And as a Dhyana Yogi also, one experiences the peace and the Sukham or the happiness, Nirvana Paramam, that which is of the nature of freedom or Nirvana, because at that time you are actually in touch, connected actively with me, Ishvara. And such a Shanti, Mat Samstham Adhigachati, the one who is Mat Samstham, the one who is abiding in me, will get that particular Shanti, Nirvana, Paramam, Shantim Adhigachati. And in Mandukya Karika, Gaudapada Acharya says that sometimes one may even get addicted to this Shanti that one feels during meditation. Okay, so he says that can itself become an obstacle later. in the sense that the minute I get into meditation, that shanti so much, then I do not continue the process of nididhyasanam till aham brahmasmi iti knowledge is completely assimilated. So there Gaudapada Acharya calls it as rasasvada. So this shanti should not be something that I am craving for as the final result. I have to understand that this shanti that I get during nididhyasanam is also an intermediate stage. It is not the ultimate, and that paramam shanti, nirvana rupi paramam shanti, or that jnana nishtha shanti will come only when the nididhyasana has completely fructified in the form of jnanam. It is that shanti ultimately which this nididhyasaka gets means he abides in that sukha swarupa, in that shanti swarupa, because atma is shanta swarupa, and nididhyasaka is almost there. He's almost there. And what is the result of nididhyasana? That shanti which I am is the very result of nididhyasana. It is not something different that I am going to accrue as karma phalam. I am the very phalam of my own nididhyasana. And what do I get? What is the phalam? Aham Atma Swarupam. I abide in my Atma Swarupa. That is the very phalam itself. And it's not a shanti or the peace which is got by some object from the jagat outside. So mat samstham shantim nirvana paramam yadi adhigachati. Who yogi, dhyana yogi adhigachati. Now, again, Krishna, after this, talking about the nature or not talking about the inner preparations that are required for a dhyana yogi for successful nididhyasana. Again, he comes back to certain bahiranga sadhanas or outwardly, sadhanas which are going to be conducive to the meditator. And here, Lord Krishna talks about moderation. He says, for an nididhyasaka, for a meditator to be, successful in focusing on Atma Tattva, Ishvara, or focusing on whatever has been heard during Vedanta Shramanam, one has to have the condition of the body in such a way that the body is not exposed to excesses of anything, that there should be a moderation. And what are the things which he talks about in moderation? He talks about moderation in food, moderation in sleep, moderation in activity. Neither too much nor too little. All these three, food, ahara, then activity, vihara, nidra, sleep. All these three should be, in such a way that they are moderate, and it is something which should be neither too much or too little. Too much of these three also causes a problem. Too less also causes a problem. So what does it say in the 16th verse? नात्यश्नतस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तमनश्नतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन. So here is talking about two things. That is, the meditator should not be either a glutton or a person who starves or who eats very little. Now, he says there should be a moderation in the food. What is the meaning of moderation here? That quantity or that amount of sattvic food, here the type of food also is important. Sattvic food, generally in our Shastra, sattvic food means that which is vegetarian food. And what is this sattvic food will be dealt by Lord Krishna later in the 17th chapter and 18th chapter, different types of sattvic, rajasic, tamasic foods, all that will come later. So we'll not go into it. This is the general thing, that let the food eaten be not too much also. Na ati ashnastu, natyashnastu yoga asti. Yoga is not possible. For dhyana yoga is not possible for ati ashnatastu, for a person who has overeaten. Why? When you overeat, you become lethargic. and dhyanam is not possible. One may fall asleep. Rather than yoga, it may give rise to roga. So, too much of bhoga in the form of overeating, it does not give me yoga. On the other hand, it may cause some roga to my body also. And nacha ekantam anashnataha. On the contrary, a person who's starving himself also cannot sit in meditation, because all the time food only will be coming in his thoughts, because the body wants to make up. The body wants to have its required amount of food, which is protective. Food protects the body, and for that, one should have an amount which is conducive to oneself. How much is it? We don't know. We have to you know understand ourselves, how much I should eat, what is the right quantity for me, what is that amount which neither makes me sleepy nor makes me constantly hungry. That is something which I have to decide on myself. It is generally said that when I am feeling happy, at the same time I feel like having some more, at that time one should stop. That means I should not eat till here, then there is yoga that is not possible. And if I'm starving myself also, the mind cannot be focused on the object of meditation. So, he says, Arjuna, may you not be gluttonous in your food habits, nor may you starve. Decide what is your Atma Parimitam. What is that which is sufficient for you without causing any kind of disturbance? Let that be your measure. That each one of us have to decide by ourselves. Nacha ati swapna shilasya. Swapna shila means the one who is oversleeping, all the time sleeping. So the one who is sleeping all the time without any kind of a botheration about the time, no discipline. Anytime I'm free, nothing to do, I go and sleep. Now, this kind of oversleeping also will put me to sleep when I'm sitting in meditation out of habit. And he says, Jagrato naiva charjuna. And if I don't have enough sleep, then also the body will demand its sleep, and the best time to go to sleep will be during meditation. So an oversleeping fellow and an undersleeping fellow, both of them will fall asleep during meditation. Therefore, whatever sleep is necessary for oneself, it cannot be said you should have 6 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep. I may not need 6 hours, I may just need 4 hours of sleep to feel very fresh and uh, going for nididhyasana. Somebody may need 7 hours. So each one of us have to decide what is it that keeps me comfortable without making me tired, without making me extremely drowsy, and food that does not, the quantity of which does not make me feel lethargic, nor does it allow any meditation to happen. So let there be moderation. And Patanjali's Yoga Shastra gives lot of instructions on this food also, but for us it is not relevant here, so we'll not go too much into it. Let us understand that let there be moderation in food and sleep. Then the third one he talks about in the 17th verse is the moderation in activity also. So he says here, yukta hara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. Now, for a person who's yukta ahara, yukta vihara, and yukta cheshta, okay, indriya cheshta, karmasu cheshta, that is the involvement of the karmendriyas in unnecessary activities. Okay, so cheshta, when I limit my cheshtas of the indriyas to the what is absolutely necessary, neither too much where the body gets tired. At the same time, yukta, ahara, vihara, and cheshta and nidra we already talked about. The movements, vihara, cheshta, the activities of the karmendriyas, and ahara, for whom it is yuktaha, for whom the right quantity or whatever is necessary has been determined by one's own self, by oneself, taking responsibility, because I want to be an Nididhyasaka. I am an Arudha, and I will do anything that facilitates my meditation or Nididhyasana than drags me out. So, this person who has a sense of proportion and moderation in his eating habits, sleeping habits, and the level of activity, he says, Yukta Swapna Avabodhasya, means Swapna means sleeping, Avabodha Jagrata, that which is sufficient enough. The one who has this, Yogo Bhavati Dukkhaha. This yoga becomes very, very enjoyable. It does not create any dukkha. On the other hand, Nididhyasana actually, what does it do? It actually removes the dukhi in me. The dukkha in me, the dukhi in me is completely replaced by Nididhyasana. Because in Nididhyasana, what am I trying to do? I am trying to be established in my own Swarupam. Taking the help of what I have heard in Vedanta. This is the difference between the Patanjali's Dhyanam, Yoga Sutra, Yoga Dhyanam, and Vedantic meditation called Nididhyasana. In that system of yoga, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, clearing the mind completely of all thoughts, is the ultimate, goal for a Ashtanga yogi, Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Whereas in Vedanta, Vedantic meditation involves using the thought. What thought? The thought Ishvara, Brahma Vritti. Aham Vritti, Ishvara Vritti, Brahma Vritti. The Vritti is used, and we try to align this Brahma Vritti or Atma Vritti in such a way that there is a continuous, constant flow of the same Vritti with the exclusion of the others. This is what is called as Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha. So, Aham Akarta Abhokta Atma Asmi. If that is what I am going to take for my Nididhyasanam today, every thought of mine is concentrating on Ahamakarta Bhoktatma. It is not repeating like japa. It's not like Ahamakarta Ahamakarta. No, it is not japa. All the time on this one particular Vedantic truth, my mind is concentrating vritti after vritti, thought after thought, thought after thought, thought after thought, so that the Nididhyasana becomes one continuous, unbroken flow of Sajatiya Brahma Vritti Pravaha. Therefore, such a Nididhyasana removes, or such a Nididhyasana actually, takes away the dukhi in me, takes away the dukkha in me. But then I have to understand that if I am constantly keeping all the dukkha of the outside influences in me, and if I am not a niyata manasaha, if I am not a shami, if I am not a vashi, then the dukkhas which are outside, I will be doing dhyana on my dukkha rather than the dhyana which removes the dukkha. That is why Krishna said, Shantim Paramam. Okay? Nirvana Paramam Shantim Adigachati. So it literally kills, he says, dukkha. This nididhyasana will become a destroyer of dukkha. If I don't do this, then nididhyasana will be the very source of dukkha for me. And should I do this? No, it should not become like that. This very process of nididhyasana should dukkha, means the one which destroys the dukhi me and shows me my sukha swarupa atma. This is the process of nididhyasanam, where the nididhyasaka, the meditator, has to really think on these terms. And now in the 18th verse, what does he say? How and when this yukta, when do you call this yukta? Yogo bhavati dukkha, yukta chestasya, all this stuff. So, who is this yukta? And when does this meditator become a yukta? Yukta means, the one who is, fit. Yuktaha, the one who is fit for this Nididhyasanam. When does he become that? Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyeva nispraha sarva kamebhyaha yukta ityuchyate tada. When is this person called as a meditator fit for meditation, which destroys the dukhi meditator in him? Who is this yukta? He says, yada, when, viniyatam chittam, when this chittam, this anthakaranam is under my mastery, viniyatam chittam, the mind is directed, concentrating with one point focus on the object or the dhyayam of meditation. That is what? Atma-swarupam, Brahma-swarupam, or what Krishna said as Mat-param, Mat-paraha, Mat-chittaha. Here, Mat, here, me, Ishvara or Brahman. I've told you long back, Ishvara and Brahman are paryaya padas. We can use one for the other. So what is he? When that chittam is viniyatam, that niyamena, niyatam chitta, niyatamaanasaha, that mastered mind and sense organs, okay, atmaniyeva avatishtate, that which is focused on my atmaswarupa, nisprihaha, no longing, no spriha for any other thing other than the object of my meditation. Nispraha sarva kamebhyaha. All the desires at that time, they are put on hold. There is no spriha, no longing for achieving anything. And the only focus is I, Brahman, Ishvara, Atma. Such a person is called as a yuktaha. Tada yuktaha ityuchate. Then that person, this meditator, this nididhyasaka is called as yukta. And then what is the state of mind? What is the nature of meditation that happens in such a yuktaha is talked about by giving an example in the next verse, which we will just read. Yatha deepo nivatasthaha nengate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha. Here, Lord Krishna gives an example of a lamp, a flame which is kept in a place where there is no blowing wind. Nivataha, nivatasthaha, nivatasthane. It doesn't mean where there is no air. Without air, the flame cannot burn. There is air, but there is no blowing wind. That is called as nivatasthana yata deepaha na ingate. It does not fluctuate. The flame does not dance or fluctuate. That is the upama, sopama smrita. That is the example given for the mind of this meditator, where the meditation is going on continuously, but there is absolutely looks as if there is no movement. Here we have to understand that the flame is not stationary. Why is this example given? It is prakashatmakaha. This flame is of the nature of light. And what is the dhyayam of nididhyasana? Jnana Swarupa, the very light of consciousness. One reason for this example. Secondly, the flame is constantly moving, but without moving the flame, it is constantly burning the indhana, and constantly there is a movement inside that flame, but it appears as one single non-moving column of flame. Isn't it? It doesn't mean it is solid. There is continuous movement going on there. At the same time, it appears as a solid column of, this flame. Similarly, the vrittis of the mind are not static. The vrittis of the mind are constantly moving. But what are those vrittis? Every vritti is Atma vritti. Every vritti is Brahma vritti. Every vritti is Mat chittaha, Mat paraha. Okay, so though the vrittis are moving one after another in an order where every vritti is Atma vritti, it looks as though the mind is absolutely non-moving. The mind cannot be non-moving. Vrittis have to move. Without the moving vritti, mind is not mind, it's a dead mind. But we want a mind which is alive in nididhyasana. We want a mind which has thoughts and the movements of thoughts. But the nididhyasaka has regulated his vrittis and thoughts in such a way that the thought is only of Atma Swarupa, one after another for that period of time. No other vritti, but it is the continuation of the Atma vritti continuously, which looks like a solid column which we see in the non-moving flame when we have a lamp kept in a place which is not disturbed by the blowing wind. That is the comparison of the chitta or the mind of a yogi. Yoginaha yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanaha yatha deepaha nivatastaha na ingate sa upama smrita. That is the upama given. That is the metaphor. That is the example given. That is how the mind of a dhyana yogi is. So we'll stop with this. Om Nandantu Sadhaka Sarve Vinashyantu Vidushakaha Avastha Shambhavi Mestu Prasannostu Guru Sada Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkham Apnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.